The pilgrims arrive home. New character. Master, a name given to God showing that he is the head. Then at last they came to the enchanted ground where the air tended to cause one to sleep, and that place was all grown over with briars and thorns. There also was an enchanted arbor upon which if a man sat or slept, he should never rise or wake again in this world. Over this forest they went both on one and another, and Mr. Greatheart went before. He was the guide. They went on here, each man with his sword drawn in his hand, for they knew it was a dangerous place. Also they cheered up one another as well as they could. Now they had not gone far, but a great mist and darkness fell upon them all, so that they could scarcely see each other. They were forced for some time to follow one another by words, for they could not walk in sight. Yet so it was that through the encouraging words of him that led in the front, they made their way through the ground. Then they came to the arbor, warm and promising much rest to the pilgrims, for it was covered with greens and furnished with benches. It also had in it a soft couch where the weary might lean. This was tempting for the pilgrims, but there was not one of them that made so much as a motion to stop there. Yea, the continually gave good heed to the voice of their guide, and he did so faithfully tell them of dangers. I saw them in my dream that they went on till they came to a place at which men often lost their way, but he had in his pocket a map of all ways leading to or from the celestial city. So he struck a light and took a view of his map, and had he not been careful to look in his map, they might have been smothered in the mud, for just a little before them was a pit full of nothing but mud made on purpose to destroy the pilgrims. When then thought I win myself, what pilgrim would not have one of those maps with him, that he may look which is the way he must take. After this I beheld they were come unto the land of Beulah, where the sun shineth night and day. Here, because they were weary, they took themselves a while to rest, but the bells did so ring, and the trumpets did continually sound, so that they could not sleep, and yet they received as much rest as if they had slept over so soundly. When the pilgrims got up and walked through to and fro, but how were the ears now filled with heavenly voices, and with their delighted and with celestial sights. In this place there was a record kept of the names of them that had been pilgrims of old, and a history of all the famous acts that they had done in this place. The children of the town would go into the king's gardens and gather flowers for the pilgrims, and bring them to them with much affection. Here also grew saffron and cinnamon with all the trees of frankincense, myrrh, and aloes with all chief spices. Christiana receives the message. Then there was a noise in the town that there was a messenger coming from the celestial city to Christiana. When they found the house there where she was, the messenger presented with her with a letter which said, "Hail, good woman, I bring thee tidings that the master calls for thee and expects that thou shouldst stand in his presence in clothes of everlasting life within 10 days." When Christiana saw that her time was come and that she was the first of this company that was to go over, she called for Mr. Greatheart, her guide. He told her he was glad of the news. Then she asked his advice on how things should be prepared for her journey. So he told her and said, "We that are left will accompany you to the riverside." Then she called for her children and gave them her blessing. Christiana crosses the river. Now the day drew on that Christiana should cross the river, so the road was full of people there to see her take her journey. But behold, all the banks beyond the river were full of horses and chariots, which were come down to take her to the city gate. So she entered the river with a farewell to those that followed her to the riverside. The last words that she was heard to say were, "I come, Lord, to be with thee." As for her Christian children, the 4 boys that Christiana brought with her, their wives and children, I did not stay where I was till they were gone over, but glorious it was to see how the open gate was filled with horses and chariots, with trumpeters and pipers, with singers and players on stringed instruments, to welcome the pilgrims as they went up and followed one another after another in at the beautiful gate of the city. Think about it. How did the pilgrims find their way in the mist? They heard noise and they followed the noise. 2. Why was it so tempting to sleep on the enchanted ground? Because there was a mist that could make you fall to you sleepy, and if you lay down and sleep, you will never rise again. How did Christiana know it was time to cross the river? She heard chariots and angels using string instruments and pipers, and chariots was coming down to take her to the celestial city. 4. Describe the setting of Christiana entering the celestial city. There was a lot of angels, and there was a river, and there was the celestial city in front of her. 1 Corinthians 15 through 15, 54 through 57. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on the immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, "Death is swallowed up in victory." O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. But thanks to God which giveth us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. What do you think? After reading the final chapter, what do you think is God's greatest promise to us? He will always be with with us wherever we go.
Done? Yeah, thank you.